In a previous video, I showed you all how to set up your own private World of Warcraft server using AzerothCore and PlayerBots on a Windows machine. This time I'm going to do pretty much exactly the same thing, but this time on a Linux machine. Ubuntu 24.04 to be more specific. Please refer to my website because it contains a tutorial in full details and explanations and everything, and that should be sufficient to get you going. So without further ado, are you ready? I'm ready. Well, let's go then, shall we?
Meep, meep. Okay, so let's go. Meep, meep. What you're looking at now is the video sped up by, I believe, 500% or something, and you'll be seeing a lot more of that in the rest of this video. And in order to keep this video as short as possible, I'll probably cut out some pieces that are not really interesting. So thanks for watching, see you next time. No, just kidding, just kidding. All requirements to run our server are now installed. Now you're going to choose where you want to store your server files. This can be any location you want. I'm choosing this location. Now we've downloaded all the server files from the repository. Now we're going to also need the files for the player bots. And this one goes into the folder modules. Now PlayerBots is actually a module for AzerothCore, and as this module many others exist. I listed a couple of them here, and I'm going to choose to also download these files for the auction house bot. I really like that module. So okay, then our next step will be to create the build folder. So we're going to go out of the modules folder, then create a folder named build, go into that folder, and now we're ready to use CMake. And again, what I said at the beginning of the video, if this all goes too fast for you, just visit my website and take a look at the guide. Once the CMake process is completed, we're going to actually run the make command, which will take a long time. So once this process is finally done, and for me it took like well over an hour, longer than I expected. But anyways, we're going to use this command to actually place the server files in their location that we specified earlier. Okay, so there are two files in our bin folder now, the auth server and world server, and those two actually make up your server eventually, but I'll get back to that later. Next step is to set up our databases. It may be easier for you to install a little tool called HeidiSQL. So I'll download it from here. It's actually linked to a GitHub page I see, so let's scroll down and find the deb file. There it is. So we'll download this one. Okay, that's in our downloads folder now. And if I recall correctly, we do need to install a couple of libraries before we're able to install it. We'll see what happens. Downloads. There it is. So I'll try to install it. and then we'll see which libraries are actually required. Of course. So the installer now says it cannot continue because it needs these packages. So what I'll do is just install those. And SQLite 3, copy it, paste it there. Okay, now that these required libraries are installed, we should be able to install HeidiSQL. Yeah. This means we should be able to find it in our start menu now somewhere under development. Let's quickly add it to the desktop. Here's a little in-between pop-up mini tutorial on how to use HeidiSQL, which I forgot to record, so I did afterwards. So this is kind of Back to the Future, whatever like thingy. This is all default. You see there are no databases here yet. To create new databases in HeidiSQL, it's really simple. Just go here, right-click here, create new database, and name it whatever you want. Something like this. And in the same way you can add the 3 others. PlayerBots. And of course for the characters. Those are the only 4 databases that you'll need. Now to create a user to access these databases, if you want, use this little icon here and then add, give it a name, give it a password, add the databases that it should be able to use, these 4, save, and that's it. That's how we can do this using HeidiSQL. Now I go back in time where I will continue the tutorial and I show you how to do this all through the command line. So I'm going to show you how to set up the databases from the command line. Now whether or not you want to follow this next command is up to you. Nope. Yes. Nope. Yes. Yes. Okay. Now we're going to open MySQL. Just going to, by doing this. Now we're in the MySQL CLI. I'm going to copy something from my website. Except I will be changing the password. And then flush privileges. I'm going to create a new user also. New user named AzerothCore with the password AzerothCore as well. Then we're going to create 4 databases. Okay. And then we're going to grant access, all access to these databases for the user AzerothCore. Okay, and then we can exit. We're quickly going to continue to the next step, which is the data files. The data files. I think I linked it from my documentation. Yeah, here we go. I already have it open. This page, you need to download this data.zip file. It's 1.1 gigabytes, and I think I already downloaded it. Yeah, I have it here already, so I'm not gonna re-download it. Go back to where I have my server files. Okay, and from here I'm going to create a folder, call it data. And I'll be unpacking the contents of the zip file to that folder. Extract. Obviously, if you don't have a desktop environment, you could do the same thing just by using this command unzip. And then of course you need to point to where the zip file is. And then you enter where you want it unzipped. Might take a while. Okay, I made a little tiny error here. It's extracting it to the data folder and then another data subfolder. I don't want that, so once it's done, I'll move all the files from within the data folder, this one folder up. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so that's how it should look for you. Also in the data folder you should have these subfolders and then you're fine. Next step is to configure our server. We should have an etc folder. Yep. To .config. Same thing for the world server. And the same thing for any configuration files that we find in the modules subfolder. So let's take a look. There's one for the Auction House bot and one for PlayerBots. Right. Let's start off with the auth server.config. Open it with any text editor you like. I prefer to use Joe, but more common is Nano. Do whatever you want. And in this file, the most important thing is that we change the database details. Login database info. Right. You may remember we created a user AzerothCore with the password AzerothCore, and we created the database, which is almost the same, slightly different. Okay. I think I can save this file. Then create the temp folder, and we might as well also create the logs folder. Okay, so now we're going to edit the world server.config file. I'm just going to leave all this to default. Here it is. Okay. I believe I called this chars instead of characters, so you can check, of course. Yeah, I did, so that should do it. Now this configuration file contains a lot of options that you should definitely go through, because they basically determine how your server will operate and behave. I believe this one's also pretty important. Logs folder, alright. Now the rest of all these settings are entirely up to you, what you choose to do with them. I suggest that you just go through them all thoroughly, test things out through trial and error. You'll eventually end up with a server that is completely customized to your own wishes. Then we're going to open the modules folder, because there's still 2 configuration files here that we need to edit. Most importantly, the player bots, of course. And I believe the database settings are all the way at the bottom of the file. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go all the way down. until we find the database settings. This file also contains a lot of options that you definitely should go through. Now here we go. Okay, so I'm going to save this file. We should now, in fact, be able to actually run the server. We are in the bin folder. Yeah. Okay, just to show you, these databases are completely empty now. Nothing appears right here. Once we start the authentication server, it will automatically fill this database. So yeah, let's go. Oh, it gives me an error message that this file could not be created, and that's because I made a typo. Let's quickly correct that one. Okay, now you can see it's importing the database details, which means we should be seeing some things appear here. Now it's already done and it's up and running, so the authentication server is now running at this address, at this port. Now this address can only be accessed by localhost, so the same machine as you're running it on. We want to change that, so we're going to stop this process by entering Ctrl+C. And then we're going into HeidiSQL, because that's the easiest way, but you can also follow my guide, and then there we do it through the command line if you don't have a desktop environment. But to make things a little bit quicker now, we're going to go to realm list, go to the data tab. There we see the name and the address. We're first going to change the name to whatever you want. This will be your realm name, so when people connect to your server, this will be what they are seeing. Pick whatever you like, but more importantly, the IP address. And I'm not actually sure what my IP address is on this machine, so let's check it out. It's this one. 143, okay. Paste it in there. And that's all you need to do. So now if we rerun the authentication server, we should see that it's listening on this address, and that's what you want, because now we can connect to this address from a remote machine, either over the internet or from your local network, doesn't matter. So that's working. So I'm going to cancel this again by pressing Ctrl+C, and now I'm going to run the world server. And this might take some time the first time, because it's going to populate the database. That's quite a big database. So we're just going to leave this running for a while and probably fast forward it and get back to you once it's done.
Mimi.
Let's create an account for ourselves. And the password. Now let's give myself GM rights. Then I'm going to specify that I can use Wrath of Lich King expansion. Setting this to 2. 0 means classic, 1 means TBC, and 2 means Wrath of Lich King. And I made an error because I forgot my account name. Right. Auction House bot also needs a own account and a GUID. So let's create an account for that. I don't think it needs anything else than that. Maybe set the add-on, I don't know. Don't even think this is required, but in order to log in, of course, you also need to run the authentication server. So let's get that going also. That's it. Now you're able to log in to your World of Warcraft server.
Subscribe
to my channel and
leave
a like. Thanks for watching.